We have June McDaniels from the Berkeley office who's going to talk about how to get referrals without asking for referrals, which is awesome. It's sort of like that movie Inception where you're inside a dream. It's going to get weird and kind of confusing. So you're going to get tons and tons of referrals, but you're never going to ask for any. I can't wait. And then Matt's going to make up a bunch of stuff about what's going on in the real estate market. So let's dive into the radio show and get this thing started. June McDaniels is from our Berkeley office, top producer, amazing lady. She started her real estate career 12 years ago after deciding to step away from a successful career with Gap Corporation. That's why she's always dressed so well, where she traveled the world. Now she just travels the mean streets of Berkeley, which can take a long time to get through. If you've ever driven through Berkeley, holy moly. Since that time, she's built a powerful referral business through networking and her work in the community. She's also a mom, a PTA president, and very active in her community. June, welcome to the radio show.
Thank you.
We're so happy to have you. So PTA, what's that all about? I'm just kidding. We're not going to talk about that at all, unless you want to. No, not at all. Okay, good.
Oh, that's fine.
No, let's talk about how to build a referral business. And I'm really curious to understand how you crack the code on building a referral business without being that awkward person at the barbecue who's always saying, I really appreciate and respect your referral, right? So let's have a dialogue. It took you 10 years to build a strong referral business. How did it start? I mean, when you first dove in, how did you do that?
It started off from the beginning doing tons of open houses and floor, getting prospects.
Yep.
And so from that beginning, I wanted to deliver to the prospects a high level of customer service.
Okay.
So I delivered that customer service, and after probably, I would say, a year or two, they started coming back to me. And a lot of it had nothing to do with real estate.
Were they coming back to you?
The prospects were asking me questions about anything.
Got it.
And if I didn't know the answer,
So you had positioned yourself during because it's a pretty emotional experience, right?
Yes.
The purchasing of a home, selling of a home, there's a lot of stress that's involved with it. And so you created some real sort of emotional connection with them through that process. And then if they were looking for more information about, I don't know, great restaurants or daycare or something like that, you were their overall resource for all things in the community, as opposed to, hey, we're thinking about selling our house, what's it worth? Is that accurate?
A lot of it was, I would say the majority, people needed to be connected with financing, for refinancing, things like that. So, they were around real estate, but not
hey, I'm thinking about selling
my house.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a great point, because I think sometimes, we think about our database from the standpoint of how it should bring us more business, and it should. But you're winning. Oh, I just Charlie Sheen did. Sorry about that. You're doing well if you are getting calls from your database really about anything, because that means you have mind share with them. And when they're thinking about something having to do with home, quote unquote, they're thinking of you. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So you said customer service was a piece of that.
Customer service and building a relationship with them. Most important for me.
During the escrow process, after the escrow process, both?
Both.
All of it. We may get to this later, and I'm notorious for skipping ahead, but do you market to your database? Do you send?
No.
No.
I'm going to be truthful.
Good.
I have not done.
We do our lying radio show on Tuesdays, so I'm glad you're going to be truthful today.
I don't do the traditional marketing.
Okay.
Where I send out postcards, but,
right.
In having a conversation with my husband about this, basically I realized that I do real-time marketing.
Oh.
It's me out in that community and going to events, at the school or women's groups and things like that. So I'm doing a different type of marketing.
So you sort of network your way to the Hall of Fame.
Yes.
And you're very
it's all networking.
Purposeful and out there, and then in those networking events, it ends up coming up. You're in, where are you coming from? Oh, I just did a listing, or I just coming from it, and it ends up being about real estate.
Yes.
Okay. Cool.
Yep.
All right. So regarding this customer service piece, and I like this. You're not afraid to tell clients, or Clarence, if he happens to be your client. I don't know where that came from. You're not afraid to tell your clients the hard truth. And is that part of how you actually provide service? Sometimes we feel like providing service is actually just telling people what they want to hear. But in truth, when you give someone the real deal, sometimes that can feel even better.
Yes. it took me a while to get to there. You know, in the beginning, whatever my clients wanted in that customer service, I said, okay, I'm going to give them whatever they wanted. But I wasn't comfortable with just telling them, you just need to buy this house and do that. I wasn't comfortable with that.
Right.
So, I really was honest to say, this might not work for you. It might not be the fit for you, even in the height of the market.
Right.
In the early, 2003, 2004, it was just so fast. People weren't reading their disclosures. Sometimes people wouldn't even see a house.
Right.
And I know that there are real estate agents who would say, okay, I'll write up the contract. Like, if you didn't see the house, if your husband or partner didn't see the house, I'm not writing an offer.
So you had a clearly defined process.
I did.
For how individuals got to work with you.
Yes.
And that, in some ways, that's almost inverted, right? So
Yes.
we're used to thinking about, I'm going to be all things to all people anytime they need me.
Yes.
And what I hear you saying is, I'm actually going to explain to everyone how I work.
Yes.
And if they're looking for that, then I'm here for them. And if they aren't, that's okay too.
And that's okay. And that took me a long time to learn to be okay with the clients who weren't okay with that and who walked away.
And therefore, you end up providing great service because they are doing things the way you do things.
Yes.
That's what I'm hearing.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, good.
We're on the same page.
Yeah. So you clearly communicate and articulate who you are and how you work. And if they aren't into that, no big deal. There's millions of other licensed real estate professionals across the nation that you can pick from.
But of course, I'm I don't know if I'm a warm and fuzzy, if you call it, but I used to take it very personally. Like, what?
Oh, are you
Do they
sensitive?
not want to? Yeah, I'm sensitive, exactly. I'm like, you don't want to work with me?
Right.
Wow. After I told you this and you just need to do that? Yeah.
Right. But in actuality, what you're really screening for a lot of the time is motivation, right? And realism.
Yes.
Like, are you motivated and are you realistic? Because I know the process to help you win. Whether it's on a listing or as a buyer. And if you aren't willing to stick to our process, then...
Right. Well, it just eliminates the bumps in the road. So it just eliminates that. So we have to be truthful, honest with each other. And I tell them also that they have to be truthful with their mortgage broker. I don't like surprises.
Yeah, surprises are no fun for anybody.
Yeah, no fun.
Yeah. So how do you set that context? I mean, if I were a client and I was working with you, how do you help me understand, like, the hard truth, right? Is there a system
I
for
have
that?
developed, sort of a process, for the buyers, and I go through that. And, the funny thing is I have to send this to a buyer like 5 or 6 times. Then they finally read it. I have to put in the subject, please read.
Right.
And I send it to them that, I didn't look at that. Come into the office, or I'll come and we can meet at Starbucks or whichever, and let's read over it.
Got it.
And I need you to understand this process here as far as giving paperwork, to me, the turnaround time. I do it all.
So service doesn't mean being all things to all people all the time.
No.
Service means understanding what you bring to the party.
Yes.
And letting people determine if that's the kind of party they want.
Exactly. And it goes as far as with the disclosures as well.
Yeah.
Because I read the disclosures, and I have clients who say, well, you can just tell me.
Right.
Oh, no.
Right.
We'll
Bill
have
Jansen
a conversation.
just fell over.
Yes.
Yeah, Bill Jansen just had a
We'll
little
have a conversation
palpitation.
about it after you read as well. Yeah.
Right. Okay, good. So you mentioned before you don't do personal marketing from the standpoint of sort of the classic, I'm sending 24 postcards a year, et cetera, et cetera. So why?
The funny thing about it is,
because I haven't needed to, Keith. Okay, fair enough.
No, it's not that I haven't. It's not that I haven't needed to. Because in 2008, I really probably needed to, but when things went, the market went, haywire.
Yeah.
I think that I personally have a stigma about seeing myself on a grocery cart or on a bus stop.
Right.
And so I realized that it's not a comfort level.
You don't want people drawing mustaches on your face and stuff like that.
Yeah. I don't want to see that. And I don't want, I don't want people to see that. But I guess that my comfort level is just with networking.
Sure. Well, I think, look, most of the top producers that I've spoken to, and I've talked to a lot of them, They do a lot of different things. Some are very consistent and persistent in marketing to their sphere of influence. Some are very consistent and persistent in doing bulk mail to a geographical farm.
Right.
Some do open house, and they do 100 open houses a year. And you're saying, look, one of the things I'm really good at is networking, is putting myself out in the public in a consistent and persistent basis with the intent of doing good and making sure people understand that I'm in real estate. And then that turns into business for you.
It turns into business.
Yeah. So the real testament to that is to be consistent in whatever it is you can kind of pick anything so long as you do it all the time.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
And I'm consistent with that customer service. Even now, with my clients, I'm consistent with that after 12 years. And it's more real estate questions.
Right.
It's more real estate.
Right. There are some tipping points, right? So there's sort of three big strata in residential real estate. The first one is year one. Like you just eat ramen noodles, move back in with the parents, whatever you got to do, but make it through year one.
Right.
Then usually about year 3, everybody that's in your life starts to think of you as a real estate professional instead of as whatever it was you did before, as the gap person. Right. So that's a big tipping point. You get past year 3, somewhere between year 2, year 3, that's where you have that amount of mind share with the sort of your intimate sphere of influence, just through osmosis, right? Just from seeing each other at parties and hanging out and picnics and whatever else. The next tipping point is year 7, because that's when most people sell every 7 to 10 years. And so now the buyer that you put in year 1 is now a list and a buy, right? And you really now have mind share with a critical mass of people that can really help drive your business. So you're probably experienced that. Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So if you're in year 1, just make it. That's sort of the goal.
Yeah, you just make it.
Yeah. If you're in years less than 3, you can fast track some of that sphere of influence stuff with marketing and other ways that you keep in front of them. So how you don't do the postcard?
No.
How do you stay in contact with your past clients?
I send my clients a card every year.
Okay.
Depending on the time of year and the families. If I have a couple, I send them, knowing their interest, I send them a card and I just, say, how was this? How was your trip to Tahoe this year?
Just a handwritten note.
Just a handwritten
note.
Very
Personal.
It's very personal.
Okay.
And I put one card in there, and I put the card with my picture facing, out.
Yep.
And I also I do coffee or tea with some clients.
How do you pick who you do coffee and tea with? Is it just the people you like the most, or is it the ones that may have the most influence, some combination of both? Or
Keith, I think that a lot of my clients, because it's a building relationships, we become close.
Right.
So it's just all of them, at some point I'm just always going to coffee, lunch or something, or in the evening. Sometimes I get our families together. That's basically how it works for me. But I
socialize, just kind of picking. I haven't talked to so-and-so in a long time. It's time to reach out.
Time to reach out.
Okay. All right. Good. So is it true that you've never asked for a referral, not one time in your entire career?
I have never asked for a referral. Really? No, I have never asked for a referral.
The views about to be expressed are the views of June and not Mason-McDuffie or any of its affiliates. No, I'm just kidding.
Yes, no. And I know that I hear people all the time, prospecting on the phone at the office saying, it would be great if you could, give my card to one of your friends.
Right.
And,
who do you know that's thinking about buying or selling a home in the next 3 seconds?
Yeah.
Right.
I think that the comfort level for me is just me selling myself.
Yeah.
And so me selling myself in my networking, my clients, come back and they call me and say, I'm sending someone to you. I just did a deal recently, a few weeks ago, and the client said, your customer service was just so phenomenal, and we referred you to this family who needed to sell their house.
Right.
And I met with them, and she goes, your customer service,
off the charts.
We're excited about it.
Right.
So.
Question from the audience. What percentage of your business is repeat business versus, quote, new business, unquote? Best guess. Just intuition.
50%.
50 is repeat, and then the rest is new.
And the rest is new.
Okay, good. So when you go to a networking event, then let's kind of, maybe you're going to the PTA or whatever.
Yes.
Are you going there with the mindset of I'm gonna make sure I come out of here with a deal? Or
No, I don't.
Tell me a little bit about your process.
And my cards, I might have cards in my back pocket, and I don't hand any of my cards out.
Okay.
Which that wasn't the intent. The intent was I was going to hand out my cards, but it just doesn't happen.
Sure.
But I think in the event, say if it's a school event with me, being PTA president, the community sees that I'm out there, I'm in my jeans, I'm working, and, it's most important for me to make sure that the event is successful.
Sure.
And what happens is I have people who come over to me to say, I heard that someone told me that you sell real estate.
Right.
And that's what happens. It probably happens at least, at one event or, people that I've dealt with over the years of being in the school for so long.
Right.
You sell real estate.
Right.
And that's
right. So you'll go to the event, because I see this a lot. I've actually talked to Debbie DiMaggio about this and a couple other agents who are really spend a lot of time in the community.
Yes.
You can't do a poor job at what it is you're doing in the community.
Right.
And if you go there just with the intent of I'm going to find a deal, you'll end up doing an average job at best in whatever sort of giving back that you're doing.
Yes.
So be there present for the work first. Is that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't look at, that's the other thing. I don't look at, from the beginning, my real estate career is everything as a deal. I feel that when you look at it as a deal, it can happen or not happen.
Right.
If you let it be more of an organic and let it, sort of happen, it happens.
So if one chooses to make sort of giving back part of their business life, just go and be a total rock star and do an amazing job.
An amazing job.
And then people will assume you're going to do an amazing job at the real estate thing too, right?
Yes.
Is that kind of
That's it, absolutely.
Yeah. And if you don't like networking, don't do it, right? If you
don't do it if you don't like networking.
You can still give back. You can go to the events and you can buy a basket and you can, bid on the stuff and be a participant in other ways. But if you,
And if it's not true in your heart, for me, I love kids. I love giving back to the community. It's very rewarding for me to see that and to hear people say, you did a fabulous job here at this event. That's rewarding for me.
Right.
And so it comes back to me tenfold.
Okay. So you mentioned before that you have a process for how you work with buyers and work with sellers.
Yes.
And what that really is about is kind of boundary setting, right?
Boundaries.
And when you set boundaries with people, you will disappoint them.
Yes.
Right? I mean, that's sort of inherent in the setting of boundaries because they aren't getting exactly what they want.
Yes.
Right? So how do you manage that boundary setting process with a client?
Well, it's taken me a while. That was one thing that I struggled with was boundaries. Coming from corporate America, when I had to, put in 100 or more hours, per week.
Right.
And I was successful there, but I realized it wasn't good for my mind or my health.
Right.
And so I had to take a step back. And so now this being, my second career, it's something I'm passionate about, but I realize that I cannot deliver the high level of customer service if I don't take care of
yourself,
my mind and my body, myself.
Sort of like when you're on the airplane.
Yes.
And the oxygen mask comes down. They say, put
first.
yours on first and
Exactly.
then do your husband's because he probably can't figure it out. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah, or with the kid or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. So you're making sure you put your mask on first.
I put my mask on first, and that helps me, to be more productive and to deliver, with my client.
So what are examples of some boundaries that you set?
Well, I don't have a client. I don't allow my clients to call me on a Tuesday morning and tell me that I want to see properties tonight.
Got it.
Yes.
So if they called you on so if I was a client and said, hey, we just saw this on blank website, we'd like to see it today.
Well, if they want to see it during the day, during the hours of my working, and I have an opening,
got it.
That's totally fine.
Got
if
it.
not, I tell them, listen, I'll push it till tomorrow, and we'll make an appointment and do that.
Now, that's interesting because I know a lot of agents, like there's some that are listening, are going, as hot as the market is, multiple offers, rah, 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 right? They're creating a lot of fear fantasies. And here's what they'd say. And I don't really believe this, but I want to hear your answer. Here's what they would say to you. Well, June, they might go work with someone else.
They might.
Yeah.
They might go work with someone
I
else.
wish you could see the look on her face. It's like, I wish they would.
They might go work with someone else. Now, it also depends on, if it was something where they were taking offers the next day.
Sure. There's always exceptions.
It's always exceptions.
But the rule is.
My general rule is this. It's taken me a long time to get to that, but me putting out those boundaries, my clients respect that I have a family, that I am PTA president, and I have meetings, I do this. I'm committed to my clients as well as being committed to my community.
And yourself.
Yeah, and myself.
Yeah. And if someone doesn't honor that, well.
And I have lost clients, with that, and it gives me that pit in the stomach, and I take it very personally. That's my sensitive side comes out, where I'm like, yes, I'm like, oh, I lost them, and they're going to go to someone else. But I realize it'll come back to me.
And I think that sense of abundance as far as your ability to produce business, right, creates a context. If you have a real scarcity mentality and you're only working with one active buyer and it's your one active buyer for the year, well, then of course it's going to be incredibly challenging for an individual to set boundaries. Yeah. But if you have a confidence that you're going to earn the money you need to earn, that you're going to have the success that you need to have as a real estate professional, then if someone doesn't respect your boundaries, I personally think I may not be as warm and fuzzy as you.
I get teased, in the office. I do have, a few peers who say, you're just too nice. You're nice. I like to put out positive energy. Yeah.
But those same agents that are telling you that you're too nice are probably rarely, if ever, told a client, no. You get where I'm coming from?
Yes.
Like maybe you just have that sort of nice velvet hammer.
Yeah. It's a smooth no.
It's a smooth no.
Yes.
Right, mine was just no.
It's a smooth no. And, I shift them and they understand. It's just getting them to understand.
And what percentage, because this is the fear fantasy that gets created, right, is, well, they might leave me or all my clients will go away what percentage of clients would you say if you worked with 100 clients and when you set boundaries, what percentage have said, well, then I'm going to go find me another agent? What percentage? A fraction. Small, right?
Probably one.
One.
When I look at my 12 years of being in the business, I can count on one hand the clients that I have lost that have decided, yes.
There you go. So in 12 years in the business, you've lost a handful of clients because you clearly stated your boundaries and they didn't want to respect that.
Yes.
And in truth, if someone doesn't want to respect your boundaries, well, forget them anyway. Yeah. I cleaned it up for radio.
Yeah.
You see that? Okay, good. That's a big piece, I think. And I'm proud of you. Congratulations. That's I think that there's an interesting shift that happens when you take some control, take some personal responsibility for your life and for your schedule and for the things that are going to be important to you. And it's kind of amazing how things will start to orient around that once you make the personal commitment to do that. So congratulations. That's a lesson that many, many agents will go through their entire career and not learn. And I can tell, you can't see her face because it's radio, but if you could, trust me, you would understand that this is her truth for sure and that you do have those conversations. Yeah, good. Awesome. So managing clients' expectation has been a key element to your success. How do you do this effectively with buyers and such? Let's get real tactical. How do you do it? How do you keep everything, the expectations and your boundaries and all those things in line?
Breaking down the process, from the beginning. Like I said, I don't like surprises. And if I break it down from the beginning, say with buyers, going through my handbook, making sure that they understand. And then every document that I send them, for them not to just sign it, like on DocuSign, things like that, not to just sign it. I need you to read it first. So I send it to them in email first to read, and then I tell them, now I'm going to DocuSign it to you if you have a clear understanding, and we can move forward. So it might be more work for me, but that's how I have to do it, because I feel like they just might be clicking and not reading it, or just, for wet signature, they might do something,
right,
fast. But I just need to make sure that they understand what they're getting into. They understand their conversations with their mortgage broker. And it just works.
So you're a real advocate for them. You're truly managing the process.
Yes, I manage the process. And, for me, that's how I can keep as many burners on at the same time.
Are you kind of a control freak?
Maybe.
She checked with Matt, her manager, who's sitting next to her.
Well,
and Matt looked at her like, yes.
I think that I have let go of a lot.
Oh, so you're reformed control freak.
Yes, I'm reformed control freak.
All right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I'm reformed. But I do like to, I need to keep the process going. I have timelines, with the calendar, and I need for my clients to understand that we do have a calendar.
And so does that create balance for you?
Yes, it creates balance.
How? Just the boundary setting that we talked about before?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, good. Question from the audience. Jim asks, how much of your time is spent networking? Do you spend 10 hours a week, 200 hours a week? How much time do you spend networking?
So I get a lot of breaks in the summer because school is out,
right?
So it's not as much focus as on school, maybe some smaller venues with new incoming parents. I met this weekend with probably 10.
Okay.
10 parents.
As the PTA role?
Yes.
Got it.
PTA role. That's what I do.
Okay. So you're sort of PTAing your way to some real estate business.
Yes.
Okay. So that's June's advice. Everyone go join the Parent Teacher Association.
I think
I'd rather cold call. I'm just kidding. I'm glad that works for you. I think that's great.
It works for me. But, other than that, I go to, if my clients or mortgage brokers ask me to come to an event that they have or businesses that they want to, sort of break into, I do that.
So your social calendar is pretty full.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So how many hours, if you had to break it down? Best guess. In a week or a month, whatever is easy for you.
So I would say in the summer, it's probably let's see. In the summer, 10 to 15 hours.
Okay.
However,
week?
in the yes, 10 to 15 hours a week.
So you're going to probably 3 to 5 events a week.
Yes.
Some way, some shape, some form. Okay. That's a lot.
Yes.
Yeah. So you're partying your way to real estate.
Well, it's also, we go to a Giants or A's game.
Sure.
With, a group. Right. So I do that. So.
I like it. Be social. Get real estate.
But during the school year, it's a lot more.
Got it. More than 10 to 15 hours.
More than 10 to 15 hours.
So this is really your primary lead generation activity.
It is.
Okay. Another question. Agent says, I'm very involved in my community too. Do you sponsor events and or advertise in their publications? So
last year, my first time sponsoring an event. And I sponsored an event with another agent, which we did. That was great.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
The answer is yes. I sponsored. This was a large event, but I do sponsor small events. Do I put my photo again in publications? No, I don't. That goes back to that, bus stop, grocery cart, but I think they know who I am. I'm around the school.
And if you were a new licensee, maybe you don't have the budget to sponsor, but you have the time.
You have the time
to sponsor. So make sure you're a dramatic participant in the various events that come along.
For all types of events, the nitty-gritty events where you have to wear your sweatshirt. And,
right.
Really
in some ways those are better, right?
It's better.
Yeah, yeah, because it's shifting the context.
I have no problem with moving tables, doing whatever I need to do to make the event successful.
I'm not very handy. but I can pick up heavy stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So really, you truly are just primarily, consistently and persistently sort of putting yourself in front of the opportunity bus and networking your way
Yes.
out there. Okay. So if someone said, man, that sounds like a great way to build my business, what would you say is the first thing they should think about doing, or the first couple steps they should take? Let's pretend I'm a newer licensee and I came and sat down in the office with you. We stole a conference room and I just said, June, I've seen how you built your business. I heard you on the radio show and that's how I want to build my business too. What should I do first or second or third?
Well, I think the first things that new agents should do are to work open houses.
Okay. Good.
Open houses, that's the first, to me, key in building that sphere.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, and in working those open houses, it's not chasing after someone or having a conversation per se about you need to write an offer for this house.
Mm-hmm.
It really is find out about that person, find out about their interests, just striking a conversation. And that would be my first, point for someone to do. Striking a conversation, that's a great step.
We actually have a video on 3 great questions you could ask at an open house. Shameless plug. There's a bald guy doing the training. Try not to, ignore that piece, but the content's good.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And then but I was interested in the networking piece.
The networking piece, mm-hmm. I think you have to find something that you're passionate about and then dig in.
Yeah.
But it has to be something that you're passionate about. Just don't join an organization because you think that you're going to get a deal out of it.
Right. Don't go to do the Financial Advisors of America
mm-hmm.
convention because you think mm-hmm. that they would be a good lead source.
It has to be something of interest. Mm-hmm. And there are so many things out there.
Yeah.
At school, it's just, my thing, but there's so many things out there.
There's pretty much a cause for everything.
Yes, it's a cause for everything.
Right, especially in Berkeley.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm just kidding.
Well, that's the truth. But, if San Francisco's your market or Oakland, whatever, it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. There are things out there. You just have to find your passion and work it.
Nice. Well, June, thank you so much for giving your time to spend with us today. I really appreciate having you on the radio show.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. So a couple quick commercial for you on iProduce. Mark this in your calendars on July 24th at the Millennium Tower in San Francisco, which is an awesome venue. Kathy Allerton is going to be doing iProduce, which is a training program that she's developed in and around the teachings and learnings of Steve Jobs. So I would encourage you to carve out the time to attend this first one to experience what the rest of the training can be like. Again, it's on July 24th at the Millennium Tower in San Francisco from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Also, shameless plug before we get to Matt, we also have the listing class this week on Thursday. I don't have my calendar in front of me, but I will be there. I promise. We're almost full up, but we'll always make room. Don't worry. So it stresses Kathy out when I say things like that, but don't you worry about it. If you want to go. Listing class, 1-day listing intensive, starts from 10 to 1 at the Round Hill Golf Club, Country Club in Alamo. Kathy is Cyrano de Bergerac-ing that for me, but I promise it's in my Outlook as an appointment with the address and the whole 9 yards. I will be there. So don't miss that as well. Kathy's acting like we're almost full, but we will make room for anyone who's on the radio show. We promise that you will get in. So now let's talk about what's going on in the market. And for that, as we always do, we have Matt Cord, who is the manager of our Berkeley office and kind of a data nerd. But great headshot.
I tried to find a fuzzier one, but that's the best I could
do. That's the best one. Was the camera guy running when he took it?
I think I took that picture of myself.
It was one of those like selfies
in the lobby on the way out.
Yeah, nice, cool, good. All right, well, let's get off that picture as fast as we can. So, Matt, what's going on in the market?
That's a broad question.
Thanks. I'm sort of famous for those.
Yeah, I think we're certainly seeing a pretty steady trend that's taking place. I mean, one of the benefits that we're seeing now as we've gotten into the summer months is inventory is actually starting to come up a bit. As I was mentioning earlier, when you're laying on the floor, there's only one direction to go. So even though the inventory is increasing, we're still a long way away from being able to match buyer demand right now. The slide is up there, the home sales. This is a national number. Sometimes we take this sort of 10,000 foot view and then narrow it down.
Sure.
But we're basically looking at an increase in sales year over year. We'll see a decrease in our area when we get to those slides. And that really is, it's not driven by lack of interest, it's driven by lack of inventory.
Okay. So, but from a national landscape, when you see, a lot of the Case-Shiller reports and a lot of what you're going to see on CNBC or read in some of the bigger publications are going to be national numbers, right?
Almost anything that you get from a nationwide perspective, any kind of media outlet, they're always going to use national numbers, right? It's our job to kind of distill it down to what it looks like in our own backyard. And again, here's a slide from NAR, and NAR, God bless them, I love them to death. They have never been more optimistic
they are
for
pretty,
what's going to happen. So they've got a nice steady uptick here for home sales through 2014.
That's a nice, perfectly,
look at that thing. It's like Everest.
Yeah, so, and I really like, apparently Q3 of 2014 is going to get real awesome.
Right, everybody will have 5 listings. It'll be great.
And so this is reflecting of just the number of homes sold. This isn't reflective of price or anything else.
Nothing. Yeah, so, I mean, this is just the amount of volume that's being done right now and what they project it to be over the next year.
Okay. Yeah, it's a lot. So we're starting to see a little bit. It's interesting. The media is getting a little faster as data becomes more available. So, of course, they love to talk about how the real estate market was crashing. They got four or five really great years to have an opportunity to do that. Then the market starts to come back, and they'll do a little bit of that, but that's good news. So we can't talk about that too much. So as soon as they can, they get to, is this the next bubble?
Right.
And this is one that I'm starting to hear more and more. I've had several coffee hallway conversations with people saying, I think we're back in the bubble again. Blah, blah, blah. What is your opinion on that?
I think this is going to be a question that we're all going to have to answer to some degree, right? Everybody wants to know as prices increase, and certainly as you get into competitive situations where, home prices are 50, 100,000 plus over what the list price was, people start to wonder, are we headed there again?
Right.
There's a couple of things. One, you have to watch out for national media to begin with because sensational items sell. Right. So I think it was Celia Chen, who was an economist, that predicted the crash for 4 straight years until she was right, and then proclaimed that she was right.
Right.
So, any of us can do this for a long time.
Yeah, one of my real estate mentors has been saying for 10 years that the market's going to go down. So eventually he was right.
Right?
Yeah.
It takes a little bit, but it came around.
He's like, I told you so. I'm like, brother, you've been telling me for 10 years.
Right. So, I think really here's the individual answer is, one, you need to do a little research on your own so you've got something that's pat. The second, for me, I try to look at this in terms of affordability. Right now, the price of money is cheap.
Yep.
So a $700,000 home in the height of the market 7-8 years ago at 7% interest is a lot different than the $700,000 home right now at 4%. So really, it's what can people afford month in and month out versus what they're taking in from their jobs. And right now, we're not there yet, right? We still have a very, very affordable market. So I'm not really concerned about a bubble conversation until we start to see these things start pushing up on their upper plateaus. And we're already seeing that. And the one, I think, refreshing thing is as we've seen some of these listings get to the high end, we're seeing some of those sit, right? There are some people that are pulling back because they're not ready to go there. And I think that is a nice gauge of the health of the market right now.
Yeah, and rents also, right? There's been a lot of upward pressure on rents.
Absolutely.
So when the consumer is doing a rent versus buy scenario, especially for the first-time homebuyer market, rents are really high right now.
I think we've had 2.5 years where in most of the major metros,
rents are really high everywhere except in properties that I own. I don't know why. I can't seem to figure it out. But
yeah, you and I must have the same marketing plan.
Yeah, I think we do.
Yeah.
I think we do. Are they still paying? Good.
Right. Yeah, so really it's one of those, I think we really have gone about 2.5 years where in most of the major metros it has been cheaper to buy than it has been to rent, but it has taken a long time for buyer psychology to get comfortable with kind of touching the market again.
Yeah, the other thing that because I get asked about this bubble question a lot, and I think it's pretty tough for a bubble to be created in a 12 or 18-month cycle, especially when it comes to residential real estate. Look, we've had a great run since February of 2012. That's true.
Yeah,
that's true. But we're already seeing signs, and I know we're going to get to this later, where some of the foot's coming off the accelerator a little bit. I would be nervous if we had 3, 4, 5 straight years of 16 to 20% appreciation like we've seen over the last 18 months. If we see 4 or 5 years of that, now I'm going to start to be thinking bubble and starting to get a little nervous. But in residential real estate, it's really tough to have. There are markets that feel free to email me if you want to prove how wrong I am. I know of some markets where there has been a 1-year run, but California has had many years of double-digit appreciation. 9, 10, 11% appreciation. Yeah. We've seen that for off and on decades.
Yeah.
So having a 1 year where we had 14, 16, 18%, it's not like it's quadruple what we normally see as an appreciation rate. It's very healthy. It's very robust. But we also had 5 years of pent-up demand.
Right.
We had 5 years of people not buying anything because no one wants to try to catch a falling knife. And then we also had institutional dollars coming into residential real estate like we've really never seen, because historically they don't want to hold real estate as a hard asset.
Yeah.
So you have all that going into the gumbo. Of course, you're going to have a year where you see some upward pressure on price.
And I think one of the things that we miss is we all talk about this sort of meteoric rise that we had, right? It was this huge bubble that popped and it came down. Well, we had just an aggressive other end of the spectrum too,
Correct.
where we dropped way further than we should have dropped.
Right.
So right now we're trying to sort of get back to what would be, a historical norm over the years had we not had those huge dips and rises.
And the last bubble was a 7-year run.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a long run of very high appreciation.
Right.
This has been 18 months.
Right.
Which is good. Like, don't get me wrong. I'll take it. I like it. I'm happy we got it. But it's been 18 months. Let's not start building bunkers in the backyard and storing canned goods, right?
Right.
All right. So our property's overvalued. Matt, I'm a buyer, and holy crap, look what the market's done over the last 18 months. I'm going to wait because I think properties are overvalued right now.
I mean, that's, buyers that are pulling back right now, I'm finding more of them are pulling back due to the frustration of not being able to get into contract than they are at the actual price point themselves.
Right.
What I would say is this, is that right now, part of what was the cause of the bubble the first time was we were giving away money for nothing. It was stated, hey, listen, I'm good for it.
Right.
Here, let me buy this $1 million home.
Right.
Even though, I'm a mechanic.
Well, and
that works 3 days a week.
the bigger problem was the accelerator rates, right? Yeah. So it was people can afford what they can afford.
Right.
And then, we tend to be a country of optimists. So, 3 years from now, of course, I'm going to be making more money than I am today. 5 years from now, of course, I'm going to be making more money than I am today. When it's 3 to 5 years later, economy is sloughing off a little bit. I'm not making more. Oh, wow, my payment went from $3,000 to $4,500. I don't have an extra $1,500.
So what we're seeing now is we're seeing a much more, the mortgage market is a lot healthier now than it's been. Buyers are getting in with realistic loans, with realistic monthly payments that they know aren't going to adjust wildly. One of the things that comes down to properties being overvalued or undervalued is very, very dependent on the buyer. And Keith, you and I have talked about this a lot, where we talk to our clients as to what value actually is.
Right.
And we've actually said, well, what's your walkaway number?
Right.
Because for you, what's overvalued may not be overvalued to the person next to you, right? So it's getting into really close proximity with your clients to say, hey, listen, what's okay for you to say, hey, this is not the house for me, right? I mean, June had brought up a point. If you've got a client that hasn't seen the house yet and wants to bid at $200,000 over, be concerned, right? Those that you're in business with and you're tight with, that's not going to happen.
One of two things will come out of that. Either you will fail to close escrow or you'll get sued right after. Yeah, there's no good outcome from the $200,000 over, never seen the house offer price.
Right.
So how do you help, especially right now, because, the market is slowing down a little bit.
Yep.
There is some opportunity, but the consumer, I've been an agent. I've been a client who has been looking for 8 months. I've written 5 offers. I keep getting beat. And I come to you or June and say, hey, look, this market's just too competitive. I'm going to take a little breather and let's charge at it again later. Are you re-educating? How do you handle that?
So I think that there's two things that you have to look at. One is, this has caught everybody a little off guard, right? You're not the only person that's getting, outbid. We've got 9 people that bid on the property. Only one of them got it. Right. There's you and 7 others that are figuring out what to do next.
Well, you did that math really fast. That was good. Like 9 and then 1 and then 7.
You see how simple? I should have started with really 5. I got out of my comfort zone when I went over 5.
Solid.
But I think really the other part of this is there's another number that's moving at the same time, and that's going to be the cost of money. Right. So do you benefit waiting 6 months for more inventory to come on as interest rates go up? Well, that's a conversation you've got to be able to say, listen, here was a 10% rise in purchase price, and we had a 0.5% rise in interest. So you got your house, but how much more did it cost you 6 months from now?
Right. And the other component too is, most people who are bailing out because it's just too emotionally taxing, right? A buyer goes through a lot when they determine to write an offer on their quote home, unquote, and to have your home, no, it's not theirs yet, but they still were, visually putting furniture down in the living room and figuring out what the kids' room to paint and that stuff. Having your home get taken away from you 4 or 5 times is a pretty painful experience.
Well, and you get to a point, too, where you're trying to make sure that in the buying process, your buyers aren't starting to, quote-unquote, settle, right? Oh, we were going for this. Now we're just going to go for this because we want to get in. It really is making sure you're holding their hand through this. I mean, June, talking about the customer service, the people that are the most trusted advisors through the process can demystify this as much as possible.
Sure.
Those are the ones that are going to be able to get the buyers through this.
Yeah. Okay. So we get this one a lot, too, so I'll just ask you it like the consumer. Matt, where are mortgage rates going? What's going to happen with rates?
Yeah, I totally know.
Totally.
My crystal ball is better than everybody else's.
You just manage offices for fun.
Right?
And then sell that newsletter for a couple $1 billion a quarter.
That's right.
Good deal.
I had to take the bus here.
Yeah.
So I actually put this slide up for that very, very point that we don't know. So here's 4 of arguably the largest mortgage banking groups out there, and they put their projected rate for the third quarter of 2014. So they thought it would take us a year to hit what we hit 2 weeks ago.
All right.
So the answer is we don't know. The real dialogue comes down to the fact that it takes a very, very long time for numbers to come down.
Right.
And it takes a very, very short period of time for them to go up. So really, with that volatility is going to come additional insecurity, but having the conversations with your clients in advance to say, listen, we're going to see this bounce around. My idea here is for most of this year, we're probably going to be somewhere between 4.25 and 4.75, and that's probably what the year's going to end out at. But who knows, right? Global events, Bernanke says something else that scares everybody, and we're right down below 4 again.
Right. I think that I agree with you. I get asked this quite a bit. It's, we're volatile in the moment, but long-term rates are going to trend up.
Yeah.
And so you have to be prepared for what's interesting is not in our generation. So there's not anyone who's selling residential real estate. I don't care how old you are. Well, I shouldn't say that. I might get proven wrong. But let's say for a vast majority of us, there isn't anyone who's ever sold real estate in an upward trending rate environment. So it's a little bit of uncharted territory.
Yeah.
We don't know exactly, and this slide that you put together here illustrates the point well. It's been a really long time where we've had a sustained long-term upward pressure on rate. Rates either been flat or trending down for literally decades. So this will be interesting to see how consumer psychology changes a little bit, to see how real estate operates a little bit differently. And this slide that you have here is a great example of why. And in truth, we'll send this PowerPoint to everybody, won't we, Kathy? And I would be printing this out and putting it in all my buyer consultations. You need people to understand the cost of waiting. But walk us through what's up here.
Well, I mean, this is, you've multiple times said that I'm a data nerd, but truthfully, I'm such a simple guy that I need things illustrated like this in big font with easy numbers.
And you're a data nerd.
Okay. Stop it.
Oh, sorry.
So this was one that we really did put together for the group to hand out to their clients too. And it answers the question, what happens if I wait? Well, we just took what happened 10 months ago to now. Interest rates were at 3.5. The purchase price was $400,000. The principal and interest payment would be $1,796. If you were to buy the same property right now, we have seen a 10% increase. So we're at $420. We've got 4.5% interest rate. You're now looking at $2,200 for your payments, $430 more per month. And for people that are gauging their own affordability, that's real. I mean, that's somebody's car payment. That's that's a whole lot of bills that can get paid with that. So your risk of waiting is this scenario. Right? 10 months ago to now, here's what you got.
No, that's good. That's really good. And even if you took out the moderate price appreciation, the payment wouldn't change that dramatically.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. By the way, that's 5% appreciation.
Yeah. See that? I'm not a data nerd.
No.
Right?
You're just bad at math. Thanks, Pam, for pointing that out. The audience was flooding in with that's 5%, not 10. So.
Have I ruined my credibility?
Not at all. Nope. You've spoken very intelligently and articulate. And we usually put one of these in every once in a while just to make sure people are listening. So I appreciate you helping us out with that.
God, thanks for covering.
Sure. So, what's this nice family going through?
That's me and my wife. We just picked the grumpiest picture we could take for somebody to see the impact of a 1 year loss of payments versus the what the cost would be over 30 years. So I mean, this in a month to month basis, it becomes on a month to month basis. You know, the $400. You know, it means something, but people can fathom it, and it's not the end of the world. You know, over a year, $5,000 starts to become more real. Now, over a 30-year mortgage, that's a lot, right? So, I mean, again, this is just to drive home the point that there are two numbers that you're watching. What's the price point? What's the cost of money? And those are the two, you know, levers that we really don't have a ton of control over.
Do buyers buy because of timing in their life or because of timing in the market or both?
You've got to, I would say 95% of them are doing it as a life, they're buying because it's the right time in their life to do it, right? There are some that will go, wow, rates are so amazing, we weren't planning to buy until next year, but we're going to jump in now.
Sure.
But those are already people that are along the process of buying, right? They're already there.
The story they tell is different.
Right.
No one says I'm buying because it's through, not no one, but few people say I'm buying because it's great timing in my life. Even fewer people say, I'm not going to buy anymore because my timing in my life has changed. But they'll make a story around, hey, I'm not going to buy because interest rates are up, or I'm not going to buy because this is all going too fast, or I'm not going to buy because of the appreciation. But what usually happens is there's been some sort of life change that is creating that. Yeah. So home mortgage interest rates, 30-year fixed, put down.
This was basically to put everything in perspective, right? I mean, there was, when I bought my first house, the interest rate I had was 7.5%, and I thought I stole it.
Ripped it.
Right?
Yeah,
and if a mortgage broker quoted you 7.5 right now, you just slap them.
Right.
So this is really just to put in perspective that, yeah, we've seen the numbers come up from this 3.5% low. We're in this kind of 4.5% range. We've even pulled back from the last couple of weeks here.
Sure.
You know, historically, the money is still so cheap. Affordability is still so high that you just got to make sure that you're having the conversations that is this couching all of these terms in a way that, hey, this opportunity is incredibly unique.
Right. Well, and the Fed's gone on record, and you have a little blurb, but I mean they've been pretty consistent in saying they like rates to be somewhere between 6 and 7%. They feel like that's the sweet spot.
Right. Both for Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, both chief economists have come out and said that the U.S. would be totally fine if we're at 6.5%. And then Freddie said that, you know, due to median income and what the median price point is, we could actually sustain interest rates at 7%. And my feeling is if those two are coming out and kind of leaking these things, I always assume that they're in a meeting that I'm not invited to,
right?
And they may know more, right? I'm just putting it out there,
right?
So I always try to pay attention to those a little bit as, hey, listen, here's where I think they would like to get. Are we going to get there next year? Probably not.
Probably not. But it's definitely going to trend that direction.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So today's purchases. Current homeowners, so trade up, trade downs, first-time home buyers, and investors.
Right. This was funny. This when we were putting these numbers together, when we were putting the slideshow together, that actually surprised me. I really thought the driving force here was going to be first-time home buyers, people that hadn't touched the market, they'd sat out the last 5 years. But really, it was a lot of current homeowners who were stuck over 5 years. They couldn't sell. Right. They were in a position that, I'll just break even on this or worse, right? I'll lose money on this. They're now realizing that there is equity in their home again. There is an opportunity for them to get out. Mm-hmm. There's opportunity for them as opposed to just refining in their current house, buying another house at really, really cheap payments. Now, granted, it's still a hard market.
Sure.
But I was surprised there was a lot of people that were already in their home. Mm-hmm. And I think what this says to all of the agents is you've got the possibility for a listing and a buy here.
Right. Right. Go get two deals instead of. I also think, go back for just a second. I also think that part of the reason there's downward pressure on that first-time homebuyer number is that entry-level price point is the same place that investors were. And so investors were sort of kicking the teeth in on a lot of those first-time homebuyers. So that far-right bar is higher than normal, and that stole more from the first-time homebuyer than it did from the current homeowners.
And just specifically for our area where price points are fairly high, having that 10%, 20% down, I mean, that's a big nut, right? And somebody who's in their home already may have that equity baked in.
Sure. So agents who specialize in the following things, tell me about
this. This is a super simple one, but we've known this forever. The Wall Street Journals put this out earlier this month as if this was a new brainstorm. Like, oh my God, hyperlocal actually means something.
Wow.
So really what this was, and I think if you read the entire article, it was actually addressing things, addressing models like Redfin or Zip Realty that take very, very large geographies as part of their lead generation process. What the Wall Street Journal was saying is if you were taking people that specialize in a particular area, a particular city, a particular zip code, you're going to do far better with them than you will with somebody who will take, I cover the East Bay.
Right.
Right? So, again, this is a conversation for an agent that may be in a competitive either listing presentation or a buyer presentation and wants to illustrate that, hey, I work this particular area. Let me show you my past sales. And, oh, by the way, here's something from the Wall Street Journal, not from me.
Can you send me that article so I can push it out to everybody?
Absolutely.
All right, cool. So inventory. Months of inventory. Well, I mean, that's a pretty dramatic graph to show us that inventory is going down.
I also tried to pick brighter colors, but that was it.
Wow. Really?
Yeah, the yellow is blinding me. So really, this is a NAR survey here. So we're looking at the national market. And we've said this over and over and over again that homeostasis is somewhere around that 6 month mark, right? 6 months of inventory.
I think depending on, I think it's lower than that for our market.
Ours is about like 4.
3 to 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ours is about 4. Yeah. So again, I mean, this is just a relative comparison.
Sure.
And again, look where we were from January to May. Things are trending up. We are seeing more hitting the market, but we're still far below. I mean, this is a seller's market, and it has been everywhere.
Yeah.
So.
This next slide is showing really hyper-local, right?
Right.
Or more local. So SF, Bay Area.
Right.
Down 35% in listing inventory.
This is a great number to pay attention to, only because somebody locally here will write an article about how bad the real estate market is because our sales have declined 35%. Again, the problem is if you don't have enough homes to sell, home sales will decline, and that's what's happening with us. It's not a lack of health of the market. We've just got huge buyer demand and not quite enough inventory to match it.
And we are seeing, at least in the company numbers, we're seeing upward pressure on listing inventory.
Yes.
Now, I think that's for a lot of reasons, but here are the 3 ones that I'll list first. Number one, I think our agents are doing a better job at going and getting listings. So congratulations to everyone that's listening. Go get more listings. Go network your way to the Hall of Fame of listing inventory like June does, or whatever your preferred method of lead gen. But we're getting more listings. Number 2, there's a seasonality component.
Yeah.
We're going into the summer months. You will see more listings come on the market. And then number 3, I do think that the market, the investor piece in that other graph where we saw 20 some percent, the investors are starting to back away. They saw a big run up over the last 18 months. They feel like if they didn't already buy, they feel like they missed it. And if they bought, they don't want to sort of buy into the teeth of that kind of appreciation.
It's true. I mean, our price point is getting to the point where a lot of investors can't make the return that they need to have it be a viable business for them. And there are a lot of investors that change their strategy into a rent, a buy and hold versus a buy and flip. And I'd say the other thing, too, is we're actually having sellers who are kind of show me people to begin with, believing that they can get the money that the agent is saying they can.
Right. All right. Last one that we'll run through with everybody. But tell us a little bit about what you've got on this slide here.
Again, I think this is probably redundant for anybody that's listening, but this is just showing a decline in days on market, right? Property is getting snapped up faster. I mean, we're seeing that with the multiple offers, lack of contingency that are coming through. And we're seeing a price point that's gradually increasing, and that's just a simple supply versus demand, and we're going to be this way for a little bit, right?
Yep.
Unless there's a huge run-up in interest rates or a massive flood of inventory in the market, this is going to continue, but we'll probably start to see this plateau as opposed to increasing at this rate.
Yeah, what I hear anecdotally from just in the field, one of the questions I always ask when I'm at the various offices is, tell me a little bit about the market, tell me what you're seeing. And what I'm hearing pretty much across the board is, things have gone from 15, 20, 30 offers to 3, 4, 5 offers. And then there's always the beautiful darling that comes on the market every week that's the perfect house in the perfect neighborhood in perfect condition.
Right.
And that one still goes, and perfectly priced, and that one still goes bananas. But with the exception of those perfect darlings, we're seeing still multiple offers, but not the sort of ridiculousness that we were seeing 6-8 months ago.
Yeah, I think it's a good point. I think everybody is kind of aware of this, and the thing that I keep trying to tell people is it's a zip code by zip code recovery, right? You're going to have zip codes that are hot 2 months ago that aren't as hot right now, and ones that are now suddenly, everybody wants to be there. So understand that this thing is going to be kind of fits and starts.
Yep. Matt, thanks so much for your time. Really appreciate you, all joking aside, taking the time to do all the research
my
and
pleasure.
really dig in on the numbers. And,
Yeah, I hope
and
it's helpful.
Share that insight. I get great comments every time we do this show. So thank you for taking the time and for being June's chauffeur and getting her to the radio show. Appreciate that as well.
Absolutely.
All right, guys, that's our show for this week. June, thank you so much. Matt, great job as always. Kathy on the DJ board back there, great work. Go out and make it a great week, and we'll see you all next week.